As a ship was hit by a projectile, Iran's top negotiator said the Strait of Hormuz would not open until the US lifted its naval blockade.
More than 2,000 firefighters remain deployed to tackle Portugal's wildfires that have broken out in recent days.
While another ship has been hit by a projectile in the Strait of Hormuz, Iran's top negotiator said the waterway would not open until the US lifted its naval blockade and released frozen Iranian assets.
و روشن بگویم تا زمانی که تعهدات آمریکا در تفاهمنامه از جمله رفع محاصره، آزادی اموال بلوکه شده، رفع تحریم نفت، پایان تهدید و عملیات نظامی در همه جبهه‌ها و دیگر شروطی که در تفاهمنامه آمریکا با آن متحد شده است اجرایی نشود، تنگه باز نخواهد شد.
Meanwhile, an unidentified projectile damaged the engine room of a ship and resulted in a crew casualty early Tuesday morning as the vessel was trying to transit the Strait of Hormuz off the coast of Oman. It was not immediately clear whether the crew member was killed in the attack or wounded. With negotiations between the US and Iran stalled, Tehran has been holding separate talks with Oman on a plan to manage ships transiting the strait. Tehran said Monday it was finalizing details for a joint statement. US President Donald Trump reacted angrily, reportedly saying the US would bomb Oman if it gets in the way.
Qatar has again rejected Iran's claim that it is secretly holding 3 Iranian pilots whose aircraft were shot down in March. Speaking here in Doha, Foreign Ministry spokesperson Dr. Majid Al-Ansari called the accusations both false and illogical, saying the pilots entered Qatari airspace on a military mission. Iran says the 3 pilots were captured alive after the aircraft were down during an operation targeting the U.S. Al Udeid airbase. Qatar says the aircraft had violated its airspace and were targeting Doha.
احنا موقفنا من اليوم الأول كان واضح. هذه الطائرات لم تأتي إلى قطر في نزهة. هذه الطائرات جاءت إلى قطر لاستهداف سيادتنا وجاءت لتهديد المواطنين والمقيمين في دولة قطر وفور تأكد اختراقها الأجواء القطرية وتأكد استهدافها لمدينة الدوحة تم مباشرة.
Dr. Al-Ansari says Qatari forces tried to contact the pilots but got no response. Search teams later recovered the remains of 1 pilot, which an Iranian delegation came to Doha to collect. Qatar also invited an Iranian technical team to review the search operation, but says Tehran has yet to respond. The briefing also turned to efforts to end the wider conflict. Dr. Al-Ansari says U.S.-Iran talks are still far from resuming, with Qatar waiting for Iran and Oman to reach an agreement over the Strait of Hormuz.
The trajectory of events we would like to see in Qatar is an agreement on the opening of the Strait of Hormuz, which would coincide with the resumption of the ceasefire and the resumption of the talks. Are these parallel lines, converging or diverging? It's not very systematic on our end, but what I would say is that the agreement over the Strait of Hormuz would make it much easier for us to resume the talks between the United States and Iran.
For now, Qatar says the focus remains on de-escalation, reopening the strait, and ultimately getting both sides back to the negotiating table. Adil Halim, Euronews, Doha.
At least 10 people have been killed in a Russian strike in northeast Ukraine as Moscow launched 147 drones overnight over its neighbor. A Russian rocket which struck the village of Peshenigi in the northeast region of Kharkiv has left 10 people dead and 8 injured, according to the local governor on Tuesday, who added that the strike hit homes and shops. The death toll of 437 Ukrainian civilians in July was 70% higher than the same month in 2025, according to the United Nations. On Tuesday afternoon, Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiga and his Belgian counterpart Maxime Prévost held talks in an underground shelter after an air raid alert forced them to evacuate. Meanwhile, a total of 620 drones flew towards the Moscow region overnight, with the worst damage done in the Pavlovsky Posad district, Russian officials said on Tuesday, who also reported that several people were wounded and buildings were hit. Ukraine's defense forces also struck a number of Russian military facilities, including an ammunition depot and ground control stations, Ukraine's armed forces reported.
The European Commission reiterated Tuesday that all persons illegally remaining in Ceuta would be returned following the massive influx of migrants that took place in late July.
The priority is now for the Spanish and for the Moroccan authorities to maintain control of the situation and to ensure the swift return of all those who illegally remain in Ceuta. We have notably seen good results of this cooperation over the weekend when new legal attempts to cross the border were effectively prevented and when the integrity of the borders were preserved.
Last week, Spain's interior minister had estimated there were approximately 5,000 illegal migrants remaining in Ceuta, including about 1,900 minors. Spanish authorities have pledged to return all those who are illegally staying in the enclave to their country of origin, stressing no one would be transferred to mainland Spain. Earlier this month, Moroccan authorities had said they were ready to cooperate with Madrid and other EU partners to facilitate the return of unaccompanied minors.
Now, on the return, this is regulated when it comes to EU law under the Return Directive. Soon this will be the EU Return Regulation, and there are indeed provisions for the return of illegally staying migrants, including for unaccompanied minors. So this is also covered by EU law.
According to Spanish estimates, around 72,000 persons crossed into Ceuta on the 30th of July, and almost all of them have already been returned to Morocco.
More than 2,000 firefighters remain deployed to tackle Portugal's wildfires that have broken out in recent days. On Tuesday afternoon, 3 fires considered significant were still burning. More than 400 firefighters remain mobilized on a fire in northeast Portugal, in Torres de Moncorvo, in the district of Bragança, which began on Saturday. Since then, more than 2,000 hectares in the municipality have already been ravaged by the flames. Also causing concern for the authorities are 2 forest fires in Aruca and Santa Tirso. More than 24 aircraft have also been involved in the fighting of the fires throughout the country. On Tuesday, the Portuguese Institute of the Sea and the Atmosphere had placed 9 districts in mainland Portugal under an orange alert due to hot and dry weather.
Parts of the Bald Range wildfire in Canada, which began on 7 August, have been contained and evacuated residents can return to their homes in Summerland, British Columbia, Canadian authorities said on Monday. The latest update comes after the deadly wildfire in Western Canada forced some 20,000 people to flee and claim the life of an 80-year-old woman. According to the mayor of Summerland, damage assessments of the fire have now been fully completed. The mayor reported some 150 structures were damaged or destroyed. In southern Okanagan, authorities say around 22% of 5,500 properties that were under an evacuation order due to the wildfire are now under an evacuation alert instead. Environment Canada said large swathes of southern British Columbia are under an either orange or a yellow air quality warning due to wildfire smoke. Meanwhile, the Bald Range wildfire continues to burn out of control in other areas and have spread to over 212 square kilometers as of Monday morning.
Germany has opened a new drone security research center in Saxony-Anhalt as the country steps up efforts to protect airports and critical infrastructure from hostile and unauthorized aircraft. During its inauguration, Germany's Interior Minister Alexander Dobrindt said his country was the daily target of hybrid attacks and explained why, in his opinion, Germany was being targeted.
Ein zentraler Baustein mitten in Europa sind, wenn es wirtschaftliche Stabilität geht, wenn es politische Stabilität geht, wenn es gesellschaftliche Stabilität geht, wenn es sicherheitspolitische Stabilität in Europa.
Dobrindt also described the threat posed by drones as part of the shadow war of the 21st century. The facility will research and test technology designed to detect and counter unauthorized drones around airports, major events and critical infrastructure. Germany has recently been subjected to multiple incidents, including an explosives-laden drone at Leipzig airport. While shortly afterwards, operations at Hanover airport were disrupted after a drone entered restricted airspace. The ongoing drought affecting Western Europe has caused the water levels of numerous Italian rivers, including the Tiber River, to drop to exceptionally low levels. In the stretch of the river that flows through Rome, the remains of an ancient bridge dating back to Roman times, built during the reign of Emperor Nero, have re-emerged from the water. The re-emerged structure is located near Castel Sant'Angelo, not far from the current Vittorio Emanuele II bridge. 2 millennia ago, this bridge allowed people to cross the Tiber toward what is now the Vatican area. This is not the first time that in the summer, when the river is at a particularly low levels, the remains of the Pons Neronianus have re-emerged. In fact, they were once used to moor structures equipped with mills powered by the current of the Tiber, though these were demolished in the late 19th century.